A statute of limitations, known in civil law systems as a prescriptive period, is a law passed by a legislative body to set the maximum time after an event within which legal proceedings may be initiated. When the time which is specified in a statute of limitations passes, a claim might no longer be filed, or, if it is filed, it may be subject to dismissal if the defense against that claim is raised that the claim is time-barred as having been filed after the statutory limitations period. When a statute of limitations expires in a criminal case, the courts no longer have jurisdiction. Most crimes that have statutes of limitations are distinguished from serious crimes because these claims may be brought at any time. In civil law systems, such provisions are typically part of their civil or criminal codes. The cause of action dictates the statute of limitations, which can be reduced in order to ensure a fair trial. The intention of these laws is to facilitate resolution within a reasonable length of time. What amount of time is considered reasonable varies from country to country. In the United States, it may vary from state to state. Within countries, the statute of limitations may vary from one civil or criminal action to another. Some countries have no statute of limitations whatsoever. Analysis of a statute of limitations also requires the examination of any associated statute of repose, tolling provisions, and exclusions. Common law legal systems can include a statute specifying the length of time within which a claimant or prosecutor must file a case. In some civil jurisdictions, a case cannot begin after the period specified, and courts have no jurisdiction over cases filed after the statute of limitations has expired. In some other jurisdictions, a claim can be filed which may prove to have been brought outside the limitations period, but the court will retain jurisdiction in order to determine that issue, and the onus is on the defendant to plead it as part of their defense, or else the claim will not be statute barred. Once they are filed, cases do not need to be resolved within the period specified in the statute of limitations. The purpose and effect of statutes of limitations are to protect defendants. There are 3 reasons for their enactment. In classical Athens, a 5-year statute of limitations was established for almost all cases, exceptions being such as the prosecution of non-constitutional laws. Demosthenes wrote that these statutes of limitations were adopted to control sycophants. The limitation period generally begins when the plaintiff's cause of action accrues, meaning the date upon which the plaintiff is first able to maintain the cause of action in court, or when the plaintiff first becomes aware of a previous injury. A statute of repose limits the time within which an action may be brought based upon when a particular event occurred, and does not permit extensions. A statute of limitations is similar to a statute of repose, but may be extended for a variety of reasons. For example, most U.S. jurisdictions have passed statutes of repose for construction defects. If a person receives an electric shock due to a wiring defect that resulted from the builder's negligence during construction of a building, the builder is potentially liable for damages if the suit is brought within the time period defined by the statute, normally starting with the date that construction is substantially completed. After the statutory time period has passed, without regard to the nature or degree of the builder's negligence or misconduct, the statute of repose presents an absolute defense to the claim. Statutes of repose are sometimes controversial. Manufacturers contend that they are necessary to avoid unfair litigation and encourage consumers to maintain their property. Alternatively, consumer advocates argue that they reduce incentives to manufacture durable products and disproportionately affect the poor, because manufacturers will have less incentive to ensure low-cost or bargain products are manufactured to exacting safety standards. Many jurisdictions toll or suspend the limitation period under certain circumstances, such as if the aggrieved party was a minor or filed a bankruptcy proceeding. In those instances, the running of limitations is tolled or paused until the condition ends. Equitable tolling may also be applied if an individual may intimidate a plaintiff into not reporting or has been promised a suspended period. The statute of limitations may begin when the harmful event, such as fraud or injury, occurs, or it may begin when the harmful event is discovered. The U.S. Supreme Court has described the standard rule of when the time begins as when the plaintiff has a complete and present cause of action. The rule has existed since the 1830s. A discovery rule applies in other cases, or a similar effect may be applied by tolling. As discussed in Vogt v. Olson, the discover